Welcome, deep divers. Okay, get ready. Maybe punch in a cheat code in your mind, because today we are warping back.
Yeah.
Big time. We're taking a journey, one that I think holds a really special place for so many of us, the legendary 16-bit era. And specifically, we're doing a full-on nostalgic deep dive into the incredible world of Sega.
Oh, definitely. It's way more than just a console, isn't it? This is really a look into a super formative time. Gaming, sure, but also childhood for a whole generation. It wasn't just about having fun, though. It was that too. It fundamentally shaped, how we played, how we learned stuff, even how we first really interacted with tech. And what's amazing looking at the personal stories is they don't just list memories. They really breathe life into it. You can almost feel the excitement again.
That's spot on. Yeah. For so many people, and the account we're digging into today really highlights this, that jump into Sega, it was kind of mind-bending. I mean, picture this. You maybe grew up with something like a Dendy, right? That Famiclone that brought games like Mario, Tank, Chip and Dale.
Yeah.
Often your first real taste of video games, and then, bam, the Sega arrives. Our source puts it perfectly. It wasn't just an upgrade. It was like jumping from a simple little cart into a cosmic shuttle among carts. That's a direct quote. It was just a massive leap, not just graphics, but the whole experience.
And that's the absolute core of it, isn't it? It wasn't just better graphics or faster speeds, though. Yeah, those were there.
Yeah.
It was like unlocking this completely new universe of how you could play. Suddenly games had this depth, this speed, this visual richness that just felt totally revolutionary.
It's pretty fascinating how one single console could just redefine everything you thought gaming could be, not just an evolution, like you said, but boom, a whole new game. Exactly. So, okay, our mission today, let's try and pull out the really key bits, the insights from these super nostalgic sources, right to the heart of what made that Sega era so special, so unforgettable for so many of us. Let's start right at the beginning. First impressions. Always crucial.
Agreed. That initial moment, powering it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone remembers that.
Right. So for our source, the very first game they played on their brand new Sega was Bonanza Bros. Now looking at it, you think, okay, straightforward enough. Two little guys, brothers apparently, and they seem to be robbing museums.
Looks like a classic heist game.
Yeah, like cat burglars doing their thing.
But then you get the twist.
Yeah.
Which is just brilliant, actually. You see them grabbing stuff, think, okay, thieves, but nope. Turns out they weren't criminals at all. They are security system testers.
Security test.
Yeah, this is a great little bit of humor, this idea of crime for good. But in 16-bit, kind of set this fun, lighthearted, almost cheeky tone right away. Showed you games could mess with your expectations.
Crime for good. I love that. What a perfect introduction to the vibe. And speaking of unique vibes, the next game that really hit home for our source was Earthworm Jim.
Oh, Earthworm Jim.
Yeah. Not just a game, they called it the pure psychedelia of childhood. And you get it right. A worm in a robot suit, fighting cosmic cows, avoiding weird monsters, using himself as a whip.
It was wild.
Yeah.
Absolutely nuts.
Space, cows, tires flying around. It was just this bizarre, amazing mix, totally unique. And our source talks about spending weeks, maybe months, just trying to beat it. Never actually finished it, but every bit felt like progress. Even just the startup screen, Groovy, it just threw you right into that weird world.
That's such a great example of how games like Jim weren't just pushing tech limits, they were blowing up creative ones.
Yeah.
They just embraced the weird, had this huge personality, and weren't afraid to be hard. It really showed that innovative spirit back then. Developers just trying stuff out. And it makes you think, doesn't it? How does that unique design, that personality, even the difficulty, shape how we remember things? Feels like the ones that made us work hardest are the ones we remember most fondly.
Oh, totally. And when you inevitably did get stuck, which, let's be real, happened a lot, especially with Earthworm Jim.
All the time.
You didn't just Google it, couldn't. You turned to the Gamer's Bible. For our source, this was like this treasured hardcover book packed with passwords, codes, hints. They remember reading it over and over like it was sacred text or something, just hoping for that one secret.
Right. And that detail, it just connects you straight back to that pre-internet time. Sharing knowledge wasn't instant. It was physical. Tangible. Those password books, strategy guides, maybe magazines, even just notes passed between friends. They were vital. It built this real community way of sharing info. It wasn't just about getting the answer fast. It was the discovery, sharing secrets. Makes you appreciate how scarcity can actually build connection,
Yeah, definitely. And that scarcity, that value. Let's talk about getting the cartridges themselves. Hunting down specific games like, say, Pocahontas or Mortal Kombat 3. It was just popping down the shops. Our source remembers having to travel sometimes to a whole other town.
Wow.
Yeah. They described it like doing a raid in an MMO,
Yeah.
a proper quest.
A read for a cartridge.
Because you couldn't just download it. The game's in your book, not always available locally. You had to physically go find them, venture out.
And that scarcity is so key to understanding how different it felt back then. It really did make every cartridge feel like actual treasure, something you earned, something you'd look after. Totally different from today, where like thousands of games are just a click away. Makes you think about what owning something meant then, and the psychology of having to go on a real journey for your entertainment. That quest became part of the experience, made the game feel valuable before you even played it.
Absolutely. And once you had that treasure, man, the adventure started. Like Pocahontas?
Yeah.
Maybe you'd only seen the movie once, but the game just sucked you in. Exploring those gorgeous forests, solving puzzles, doing tricky jumps with Nico, the raccoon friend.
Right, the raccoon.
Yeah. And he wasn't just cute, he was essential. Your second playable character, basically. Had to use him to get to certain places.
That's her design.
Yeah. Encouraged teamwork, problem solving, and then quite a shift.
Yeah.
You go from exploring forests in Pocahontas to the absolute mayhem of Mortal Kombat 3.
Ooh, yeah. Big shift.
For our source, this wasn't just another fighter, it was the cyber sports game of their childhood, period. And it wasn't just mashing buttons, no way. This needed dedication, practice, memorization. They remember hours, just hours, learning super moves, combos, nailing those fatalities.
Oh, yeah. A fatality.
It's like serious training for your thumbs and your memory.
It's really interesting how games like MK3 went beyond just fun and games. They really built up this intense competitive scene. Dedication. It laid the groundwork for what we call esports now, really. That whole culture around getting good, mastering the mechanics, showing off. It was forming right there.
Yeah.
Shows you that drive to compete, to be skilled. It's kind of fundamental, isn't it? And games gave us a way to do that.
And that competition wasn't just in arcades. Our source paints this amazing picture, kitchen tournaments with friends.
In the kitchen, love it.
Yeah. Imagine you're playing super intensely, maybe road rash or rock and roll racing, shouting at each other, while someone's parent is literally cooking borscht in the background.
The smell of borscht and digital carnage.
Exactly. And they remember the parent just sighing, saying, "Son, who are these clowns and why is your racer called Olaf?"
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Just captures that blend,
Yeah.
Intense gaming right in the middle of ordinary home life. Shows how gaming wasn't separate. It was woven right into the family, the friendships, that noisy, chaotic atmosphere, shouting, laughing, maybe a bit of parental confusion.
Yeah.
That was the experience.
Totally. And we have to talk about the gear, the joysticks, the unsung heroes, or maybe villains sometimes.
Joysticks.
Our source says they broke constantly, like within a month sometimes.
All right.
They'd creak, buttons would stick, D-pads felt loose. But you didn't just bin them, no way. You fixed them, you had to be resourceful. And the number one tool, electrical tape, described lovingly as golden glue.
Golden glue, yes. That held the whole operation together sometime.
It really did, testament to just making do.
It really is such a telling detail, though. Shows that resourcefulness that just came out of necessity. It almost felt like a rite of passage, didn't it? If you hadn't taped up your controller at least once, were you even playing properly?
Maybe not.
But it raises that question, right? How did those limits, having to fix your own gear, actually make you feel more connected? To the games, the machine itself.
Yeah.
Taught you perseverance, maybe some very basic engineering, and definitely made you appreciate what you had. You had to fight for your playtime.
Fight for your play, that's a great way to put it. And that commitment, that resourcefulness, it definitely bled into the games too, especially strategy games. Our source mentioned Dune, the battle for Arrakis, said it was the first strategy game on the console that really, truly hooked them.
Dune. Good one.
Yeah, it wasn't just reflexes. You had to think ahead, plan, manage resources, handle units. Pretty deep for a console game back then.
And that brings us to something really, really crucial about that era. Something easy to forget now. The lack of save features in so many games.
Oh God, yes. The pain.
It wasn't just annoying. It changed everything. It created what you could call the eat or play. But probably not both.
Absolutely. Dinner's ready. Agony.
Total agony. Because if you were deep into a game, stopping meant starting over, or at least losing a ton of progress. There were no easy save points usually. Every session felt high stakes, real commitment. It wasn't just about losing progress though. It taught you focus, risk assessment, The weight of every single decision, every mistake was instant, painful feedback, forced you to learn fast, adapt. It was like this unintentional training ground for strategic thinking and just plain resilience.
So true. It wasn't just casual. It felt like an investment. Time, focus, real effort. And I think ultimately that's what really defines the Sega era for our source and probably for a lot of us listening. They summed it up so well, it really hits you. It's not just games. It's an atmosphere. It's a warm lamp, a bag of cartridges, and you trying to hit a combo in MK3.
That's it. That's the feeling. That whole era, with all the difficulties and the wins, it really drilled into you that every cartridge was a treasure and every mistake was a new way to win. Because without saves, without guides always available, you learned from every single failure, every missed jump, every bad move. It forced you to actually master the game, not just get through it. Even if your Sega was beat up, controllers held together with tape, that taught you how to really play. Connect that to the bigger picture. It's about perseverance, right? Problem solving under pressure, valuing the journey, the learning, maybe even more than just winning. It's about how those challenges made you grow.
Wow. What an amazing trip back. Reliving those moments, the fun, the frustration, the borscht-fueled tournaments. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. It really was more than just pixels and buttons, wasn't it? It was the experiences, the friendships, and yeah, maybe even some surprising lessons learned while glued to the screen.
Definitely. And maybe, as we finish up, something for you listeners to think about. What weird little rituals or challenges, or maybe even controller repairs from your early gaming days stick with you? What shaped how you play, or maybe even how you approach problems now?
Great question. Food for thought. And until next time, don't forget, wipe those cartridge contacts, give them a good blow. You never know, it might just help.